Welcome to another video of the Alalibo Academy. This is Phil, and today we are looking at a very critical question, a question that is often asked: what is race and why is it socially constructed? Now, people often say it's socially constructed. We want to understand really what that means, so let's take a closer look. Race is their socially constructed classification, right? So let's take a look at this, what that means, and we'll begin by looking at the word socially. And socially is associated with society. So let's put that here. So society essentially is constructing something. And that construction is race. They are putting race together and trying to put a definition to it. That's what socially constructed means. Society itself is constructing the meaning of race for political purposes, right? For political purposes. All right, so he says here, socially constructed classification of human beings based on identified and perceived characteristics. So we perceive characteristics of the different people in society and decide to lump them in categories, right? That's what it means. We lump people in categories based on their skin color and informed by historical and geographical context. Now, race does have a historical component to it, and it certainly has a geographical component to it as well. Even today, even in the face of globalization, there are certain places you will call and right away it's associated with a certain race. It has a geographical context. Now, it also says that it is not a biological classification. Now, this could be very confusing on the face value. That is not a biological classification. Now, we all know that race is natural. You are born into a certain race, and that fact alone is biology. So what does it mean that it's not biological classification? It's not a biological classification. What that means is we as a society, we have taken race away from its natural component or element and have turned it into a political pawn, essentially. Right? We are using race for political purposes now. We are using race for the purposes of economics, politics, right? That we can classify people into categories. So, for example, we say we have race A, race B, race C. Race A is number 1, race B is number 2, race C is number 3. So we have this classification. And this is what is known as a valuation. This is valuation process where we value the races and put a tag on them. Essentially put a tag on them and say this race is worth more or valued more than other races. And that is a basis for racism. And that's a basis for racism because now we have a hierarchy in society. And one race begins to see the others as superior. And that is the political aspect of the definition of race that we're talking about. So it's no longer a biological classification, right? Because society has taken it away from this classification and we have turned it into a political classification, socially constructed, for the purposes of valuation, for the purposes of hierarchy, for the purposes of grouping people, and for the purposes, of course, of having a sense of the contributions of the different races in society. Okay, so he says it's not a biological classification. It is often the basis upon which groups are formed. So we form groups in society based on race. We come together as races to fight a common cause, perhaps. It's become the basis upon which groups are formed, and then agency is attained. Agency is power. Right? Agency is power. Agency is attained and status is conferred. And this is really the definition of a race is socially constructed because it has every aspect to do with politics and political aspect of it and the economics of race. Right? So agency is attained, power is attained, and status is conferred. And what do we mean by status? Because we say in society that this race has this certain status, and that race has certain status, and we begin to see the races in society from that prism. And this is exactly the meaning of race is socially constructed, that we in society have put a value on race. And we have made the distinction between the races in society, saying that some races are more valued than the others. Socially constructed. And that is based on physical characteristics. And that is based on perhaps the contribution of races in society. That is based on perhaps the dominance of certain race or races in society. And through those means, we have socially constructed the definition of race. That's what it means, that race is socially constructed. And that construction can often be the basis of tension, the basis of friction, the basis of stereotyping, discrimination, and racism itself. So understanding this point is very critical to understanding how society views race and why race has become a very, very contentious topic. Thank you.